You know that feeling, right? It's usually a Sunday afternoon, you get a new book on success or mindset.
Oh, yeah.
And you read the first 50 pages and you get this rush. You think, okay, this is it. This is the missing piece.
It feels great in that moment. It feels like the problem is already solved just because you bought the book.
Exactly. You
Yeah.
make a plan, you decide you're going to be a positive thinker,
Yeah.
but then Tuesday hits.
Uh-oh.
The car won't start, you're late for a meeting, your boss is in a mood, and suddenly all that positive thinking feels like it just evaporating.
It's gone.
It's gone.
Yeah.
You look around and absolutely nothing in your actual reality has changed.
That is the classic mindset trap. And we have all been there. It's that huge, painful gap between reading about a new life and, actually building one.
It's so frustrating because it makes you feel like maybe the whole concept is broken. Or even worse, maybe you're broken.
Mm-hmm.
But today, we're looking at a text that argues the problem isn't the concept, it's the mechanical execution. It's Creative Mind and Success by Ernest Holmes from way back in 1930.
And for a book that's almost 100 years old, his diagnosis for why we fail is surprisingly sharp.
It really is.
Yeah, Holmes isn't interested in just comforting you. He has this very blunt, almost jarring line right near the beginning. He just says, most people fail because they merely wish.
Ouch. That stings a lot.
It's supposed to. It cuts through all the noise. What Holmes is doing is making a distinction that most of us miss. He's saying there's a massive structural difference between wishing for something and actually engaging in mental creation.
So one is just passive hope.
Exactly. It's waiting for the world to give you something. The other is an active architectural process.
So we're not talking about magic here. And definitely not that toxic positivity where you just smile while your house is burning down.
Not at all. We're talking about the mechanics of causality, how a thought actually becomes a tangible thing in your life.
Okay, so here's the roadmap for what we're covering. We're breaking this down into 3 specific outcomes. First, we're going to look at the blueprint, how you move from a vague hope to a specific mental pattern.
Then second, we're going to get into mental atmosphere. This is a huge concept in Holmes's work. It explains why you don't attract what you want, you attract what you are.
And third, we'll give you the 10-minute action rule. This is how you validate your belief through, immediate behavior. If this episode helps you, please hit like and subscribe for the next one.
So let's get into it. We need to define what Holmes even means by first steps.
Yeah, because I have to be honest, when I see a chapter titled First Steps, my brain kind of checks out. I think, okay, this is the beginner stuff, the 101 level. Give me something advanced.
Right.
But that's not how he uses the term here, is it?
No, and that's a dangerous assumption to make. First steps in this context isn't about being a novice. It's about the fundamental shift in causality. It's that moment you stop being a victim of your circumstances and decide to become the cause of them.
The cause.
Yeah. Holmes calls this the law of mind. But, if that sounds too esoteric, we can just look at modern behavioral science, specifically the work on implementation intentions.
I was reading about that. This is from psychologists like Peter Gollwitzer, right?
Exactly. Back in the late 90s, Gollwitzer did these fascinating studies. He found that most of us operate on what he called goal intentions. This is the vague stuff. I want to be healthier. I want to be more successful.
Yeah.
And what he found was that these vague intentions have a shockingly low success rate.
Because they don't have a trigger.
Right. They're just wishes floating in the ether. But when people created an implementation intention, which is a specific if-then plan, the success rate just skyrocketed.
Right.
I mean, we're talking going from like a 20% success rate to nearly 80% in some of these studies.
Just by changing the phrasing.
Not changing the structure. If situation X arises, then I will perform response Y. Holmes is arguing for that same level of specificity. He's saying the universe, or, your subconscious mind, it can't act on a vague wish. It needs a command.
Holmes uses this great analogy in the book for this. He compares the average person's mind to a motion picture projector.
Yes, the moving picture. It's such a perfect image for that time, but it really still holds up.
He says most of us are running the film so fast that no clear image can ever form on the screen. 1 minute we're thinking, I'm going to crush this presentation, and 10 seconds later it's, what if I get fired?
Then you think about lunch.
Right. Then lunch, then rent. The projector's just flickering.
And if the film is flickering, the image on the screen, your reality is going to be a blur. It's chaotic, a mess of half-formed shapes. Holmes is saying the first step isn't to work harder physically, it's to learn to slow down the film. Hold one frame in place long enough for the light to project it.
But why is that so hard? I mean, Logically, I know I should focus. But biologically, it
Huh?
feels like my brain fights me every time I try to hold that one frame.
That's because your brain is fighting you. Or at least parts of it are. You've got the prefrontal cortex, the newest part of the brain. That's where your conscious thoughts, your wishes, your new decisions live.
Okay.
But that part of the brain is, well, it's energy expensive. It's like a battery that drains very quickly.
It gets tired.
Very tired. And then you have the basal ganglia deep in the center. This is the habit engine. It runs on autopilot. It's extremely efficient. It barely uses any energy.
So when Holmes talks about subjectivity, or the subconscious, he's basically describing the basal ganglia.
Functionally, yeah. When you're trying to change wishing, hoping, thinking positive, that's all happening in the exhausted prefrontal cortex. It's conscious effort. But reality only changes when that thought moves from the prefrontal cortex into the basal ganglia.
When it becomes automatic.
When it becomes your default setting, yes.
So the first step isn't just having a good idea. It's the deliberate practice you need to move that thought from, I'm trying to believe this, to this is just who I am.
Precisely. It's moving from effort to automaticity, and that takes consistency, not intensity. You can't just sprint once and expect the basal ganglia to rewire itself. It takes repetition.
Okay, so we know the mechanism. We need to stop the flickering and rewire the autopilot. Let's get into the how-tos. We've organized Holmes's advice into 4 pillars for these first steps. Pillar number 1, decide what you want.
And the key here is being clear and specific. Holmes calls this one-pointed thought. He argues that the mind just cannot produce a specific result from a vague request.
Which goes back to that restaurant analogy. You can't walk into a restaurant and tell the waiter, bring me some food.
Right, and if you do that and they bring you a salad when you wanted a steak, you can't get mad. You didn't place the order. You have to provide what Holmes calls the perfect mental form, the mold for the creative power to fill.
I think a lot of us get stuck here because we're afraid to be specific. We think, oh, I just want to be happy, or I just want enough money to be comfortable. Why is that a problem?
Because general happiness is not a blueprint. It's a mood. Your mind is a builder, like an architect. You can't give a contractor a blueprint that just says, make it nice. They need dimensions, specs. If you want a job, what kind of job? What are the hours? What is the culture? You have to define the container so that reality can fill it.
Okay, so you've got your blueprint, you know what you want, but this is where most people, I think, derail. Pillar number 2, clean the inner atmosphere.
This is one of my favorite concepts from Holmes. He calls it mental house cleaning. And the core idea is that you cannot hold 2 opposing thoughts at the same time and expect success. You can't hold fear and faith simultaneously.
They cancel each other out.
They do. They just cancel out.
He talks about atmosphere almost like it's a physical smell, like you can smell the desperation on someone, or you can smell the confidence.
We've all experienced this, right? You meet someone, and before they've even said a word, you just feel safe around them. Or the opposite, you feel on edge. You want to get away. That's their mental atmosphere.
It's the vibe.
It's the vibe, but it's deeper than just charisma. Holmes argues we're all just immersed in the atmosphere of our own thinking. So if your internal world is filled with doubt or resentment or panic, people react to that. Opportunities react to that.
So let's play this out. If I go into a job interview and I've memorized all the right answers, I have the right suit, the perfect resume, but my atmosphere is screaming, I'm terrified, I'm not good enough, please give me this job.
The interviewer picks up on the atmosphere, not the script.
Exactly.
Exactly. The atmosphere speaks louder than words. We are incredibly perceptive animals. We pick up on all those tiny signals. So the first step isn't just deciding what you want. It's actively reducing the doubt that pollutes your atmosphere. You have to blot out the old patterns.
Blot out sounds aggressive.
It is aggressive. It's a refusal to entertain the doubt. It's mental house cleaning. You wouldn't invite guests over to a house filled with trash. So why invite opportunity into a mind filled with fear?
Which leads us right to pillar number 3. Repetition builds belief. Because, let's be real, you can't just decide not to be afraid once and be done with it. My brain is going to serve up fear whether I like it or not.
Of course it is. That's why it's a practice. Holmes calls it daily dying to error thought, which sounds dramatic, but it just means the discipline of catching yourself when you drift into negativity and steering back to the blueprint.
He quotes Thoreau here, which I love. He says, a mental path is created just like a physical path by walking it over and over again.
And just think about a physical path in the woods. You walk it once, you barely leave a mark, the grass springs right back up. But if you walk that same path every single day...
It gets packed down?
Yeah, the dirt gets packed down, the roots get pushed aside, it becomes easy to walk. The path of least resistance. That is exactly what we are doing with our thoughts. We are building a neural highway in our own brains. We are making the new belief the path of least resistance for that habit engine, the basal ganglia.
I want to push back on this for a second. Is this just fake it till you make it? Because that advice always annoys me. It feels so inauthentic.
That's a really valid criticism. Fake it till you make it implies you're lying to other people about your competence.
Hmm.
This is different. This is practice it till you become it.
Oh.
It's internal. It's not about acting like everything is perfect when your life is messy. It's about practicing the thought of the solution until it sticks. It's more like rehearsing for a play than lying on your resume.
That distinction really helps. Okay, finally, pillar number 4. Take one aligned action.
This is where the rubber meets the road. Holmes says, stop struggling, start trusting.
But stop struggling doesn't mean stop doing, right? Because if I just sit on my couch visualizing a Ferrari, I don't think it's just going to show up in my driveway.
Correct. And this is a nuance people miss all the time in these texts. Holmes isn't saying do nothing. He's distinguishing between action born of panic, what he calls strenuous effort, and action born of conviction.
Strenuous effort. That feels like grinding. It feels like if I don't send 50 emails right now, I'm going to die.
Right. And that creates an atmosphere of lack. It screams, I don't believe this is going to happen unless I force it. Aligned action is different. It's a discovery process. It's acting as if the result is already true.
Oh.
If you knew, 100% for a fact that you had the promotion, how would you act today?
I'd probably still do my work, but with a calm authority, not a frantic desperation.
Exactly. It's the act as if rule. You act from the end state.
I want to make this concrete. Theory is great, but I need to see how this actually works. We have 3 examples, some from the book, some modern, to show how these pillars look in practice. Let's start with example 1. Work, the caddy story.
This is a classic anecdote from Holmes. There's a young man who needs a very specific job. He has no connections, no way in. He's totally shut out of the industry he wants to enter.
Okay, so normally this guy would be panic applying to everything on LinkedIn or complaining about the economy.
That would be the strenuous effort approach. But instead, this young man applies pillar 1. He creates a specific mental form. He visualizes working in that field. He clears his atmosphere of the fear of unemployment. And then he takes aligned action. He goes to caddy at a country club.
Now, hold on. To a skeptic, and I'm the skeptic here, that sounds ridiculous. I want a corporate job, so I'm going to carry golf clubs.
Yeah.
That doesn't seem like a logical step.
On the surface, no. But look at the alignment. He put himself in the physical path of opportunity. He wasn't sitting at home. He was out in the world in an environment where successful people are.
Okay.
And because his atmosphere was clear, he was alert, personable, confident, not desperate. He ended up caddying for an influential man who was looking for exactly the kind of employee he was.
But isn't that just luck? I mean, what if he caddied for some other guy?
You could call it luck. But in behavioral science, we talk about the reticular activating system, the RAS. When you prime your brain with a specific goal, you start noticing opportunities you would have otherwise missed. If he'd been in a state of panic, he might have been a terrible caddy, invisible. But because he was aligned, he was ready to seize the coincidence when it happened.
Okay, that makes sense. He prepared his mind, and then he put his body in a place where the opportunity could find him. Example 2, relationships. This one hits home for a lot of people. The mirror effect.
Holmes has this great line. To attract friends, you must embody friendliness. It sounds simple, almost like a greeting card, but think about the investment model in modern psychology. Relationships, commitment, intimacy, they all start with the stability of the self.
So if I'm sitting around thinking, why is everyone so distant? Why can't I find a partner who commits? Holmes would say I'm projecting an atmosphere of distance or fear of abandonment.
Exactly. You're waiting for the external person to fix your internal atmosphere. You're saying, come make me feel secure. But that's a demand, not an invitation. Holmes argues you have to become the person who attracts that caliber of partner first. You have to embody security. You embody love. You become the mirror.
That's tough love. It's basically saying if you don't like who you're attracting, look at who you are being.
It is tough love, but it's also empowering. If you want interesting friends, become interested. If you want a loyal partner, practice loyalty to yourself and your values. You treat the cause, which is you, not the effect, which is them.
Example 3. This is my favorite one because it's so weirdly practical. This is for anyone feeling stuck, maybe financially or creatively. The moving the piano advice.
This is maybe the most practical, humorous piece of advice in the book. Holmes says, if you're stuck, if you can't find a job, if nothing is moving, go home and change the bed around, or the piano. Eat on the back step.
Just move the furniture. That sounds like superstition. Move the sofa. Get a check in the mail.
It sounds ridiculous, I know, but think about the neuroscience of habits again. If you are stuck in a rut, your physical environment is triggering the same old thought loops. You walk into your living room, you sit in the same chair, you look at the same wall, and your basal ganglia just fires the same old worry sequence.
It's a physical cue for a mental habit, like Pavlov's bell, but the bell is my couch.
Precisely. By moving the piano or changing where you sleep, you are breaking the physical habit loop. You're signaling to your brain something is different. Change is happening. It creates this wedge of novelty that allows new thoughts to enter. It disrupts the autopilot.
So it's not feng shui, it's pattern interruption.
It's creating physical evidence that things are shifting. And sometimes that physical shift is all it takes to jar the mind into a new perspective.
Okay, we've talked theory, we've given examples, we've debated the science. Now, I want to do this with you. If you're listening, just mentally pause for a second, and we're going to run through a first step script. We're going to apply the 4 pillars right now.
This is a 4-part exercise. You can write this down later. But for now, just do it in your head.
Step 1, name the goal. But remember, pillar 1, it has to be specific, not I want to be rich.
Right. Make it one sentence. Present tense is really helpful because it feels more real. I secure the marketing director role, or I signed 3 new clients this month. Give your mind a target.
Got it. Step 2, name the new assumption. This connects to your identity.
This is about who you need to be to achieve that goal. So if your goal is the marketing director role, your assumption might be, I'm the type of person who leads teams confidently. If it's a health goal, maybe, I'm the type of person who respects my body. This is the atmosphere you're building.
Step 3, release one inner obstacle. This is the mental house cleaning, and you have to be honest here. What is the thing that's tripping you up?
Identify the one doubt that's screaming the loudest. Is it, I'm not qualified? Is it, it's too late for me? Name it, and then explicitly release it. Say it in your head, I release the fear that I am underqualified. You have to acknowledge it to dismiss it.
And finally, step 4, choose one 10-minute action.
This is so important. It has to be something you can do today, not next week, today, and it should take less than 10 minutes.
So something like update my LinkedIn profile headline.
Perfect.
Send that one email to the contact I've been avoiding.
Yes. Or even applying the piano rule, move the chair in my office to a different corner.
Just to break the loop.
Exactly. This little action is the seal on the focus thought. It tells your brain, we are serious about this. We are moving.
I love that. It makes it so manageable. It takes this huge mountain and turns it into one little stepping stone. But even with the script, things go wrong. We fall off the wagon. Let's talk about the common mistakes people make.
I see 5 big ones. The first, as we've said, is the wish trap. Just hoping without any structure.
And the fix. Get specific. Pillar 1, stop wishing, start designing.
The second is the motion picture flicker. This is where you change the goal every time you hit a bump in the road. You want the job on Monday, but on Tuesday you write a scary article about the economy, so you retreat.
The fix for that is consistency. One-pointedness. You have to hold the frame even when the screen goes dark for a second. Trust the image will appear.
Third is looking for external validation first. This is a big one. Asking, how will I know when I know? Or why hasn't it shown up yet?
Holmes has such a great answer for this. He says, if you knew, you wouldn't ask.
That is such a heavy line. If you knew, you wouldn't ask. Proof comes after belief. If you're constantly checking for proof, you are essentially affirming that you don't have it yet. You're telling your subconscious it's not here, and the subconscious just says, okay, it's not here.
Terrifying, but it makes perfect sense.
Okay.
Mistake number 4 is strenuous effort. The grind. The hustle culture burnout.
This is acting out of fear. It feels productive, but it's toxic. The fix is calm confidence. You have to trust that this mental law works like gravity. You don't have to strain to keep your feet on the ground. It just works.
And the last one, mistake number 5, neglecting the physical. Thinking this is all just a mental game.
Right. We're embodied creatures. If you're sitting on the couch in the dark eating junk food, it's very hard to hold a mental atmosphere of high-energy success. Move the bed. Clean the house. Dress the part. Your physical environment is the prop department for your mental movie. Use it.
This has been, well, honestly, it's a lot to process, but in a good way. It feels actionable. It takes the woo-woo out of this and puts it into a mechanical framework. Let's just recap what we've covered.
Sure. Here are the key takeaways from Holmes's first steps. 1. Success is a result of law, not luck. It is a mechanical process of cause and effect.
And 2, you have to switch from wishing which is passive, to designing, which is active.
3. Specificity is king. You need that perfect mental form. You can't build a house without a blueprint, and you can't build a life without one either.
4. Your atmosphere, your deep-seated confidence or fear, it speaks louder than your words. You attract what you are.
5. Repetition is the tool. It moves a thought from the conscious mind to that automatic basal ganglia.
6. Action is a discovery mechanism, not a struggle mechanism. You act to discover what's already there.
And 7. Start small. Even if it's just moving the furniture, do something to signal that the change has begun.
So what does this all mean for you listening right now? It means you don't have to wait for the world to change before you start feeling different. You can start the first steps today. You can draft that blueprint, clean that atmosphere, and yes, move that piano.
And remember, the goal isn't to never have a negative thought again. That's impossible. We aren't robots. The goal is just to not let the negative thought become the new blueprint. The goal is to return again and again to the pattern you actually want to build.
Now, we've talked a lot about how to consciously create your life. But here's the scary part and the exciting part. For the last 10, 20 years, you have been creating your life unconsciously.
That's right.
You've been running scripts on autopilot without even realizing it.
And those autopilot scripts, the ones buried deep in the dark, are responsible for the patterns you just can't seem to break.
That is exactly what we are covering in our next one. Unconscious creation. We're going to look at the hidden blueprints you didn't even know you had.
It's going to be a fascinating discussion.
Thanks for being here. If you want the full series, check the playlist, and please like and subscribe so you don't miss the next episode.